President Buhari signs budget of continuity into law.
Federal Inland Revenue Service to generate 8.96 trillion naira in 2019 fiscal year.
President Buhari calls for an end to pipeline vandalism and acts of economic sabotage in the Niger Delta area.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the fight against insurgency in the Northeast and achievements under the Buhari administration.
Now, before the inauguration of the Buhari administration in 2015, many Nigerians were living in fear of Boko Haram insurgency and their incessant bomb attacks.
Now, the northeast of Nigeria was certainly the worst hit, as many people lost their lives and property to the menace of Boko Haram. There were frequent reports of bombings in some parts of the Federal Capital Territory, for instance, Yobe, Borno, Adamawa, Gombe, and others.
Now, the good news is that under the Buhari administration, these attacks have reduced to a minimal level in these affected areas. And in the case of Abuja, it has stopped completely. But Kingsley, we will recall that in the period in question, most government institutions, business concerns, churches and mosques, and of course military bases in Abuja were all, barricaded, for fear of being attacked.
That's right. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we saw what happened with the bombing of the UN headquarters building in Abuja, and some shopping malls were also affected. Plus, of course, the two incidents that took place in Yanya. But as you're right, of course, Madala, that's in Niger State, in Suleja, Niger State. But as you indicated, for some years now, there has been no reported incident of Boko Haram attacks in the Federal Capital Territory. But in the northeast, of course, many people who had fled their homes following the incessant attacks by Boko Haram are reported to have returned home and been reunited with their families, thereby reducing the number of internally displaced persons in various IDP camps. And
the Nigerian Army says business and other activities have returned to normalcy in many of the cities previously occupied by insurgents.
Now, it's also a significant point that in the course of battling the insurgents, the Nigerian government has received the support of not just the neighbors, but also from other foreign countries with respect to treating the threat and the reality of terrorism, not just as a Nigerian concern, but indeed one of regional and ultimately global concern.
All right. And of course, Boko Haram is said to have been completely eradicated in some parts of the country. And to consolidate the successes recorded in the campaign and fight against Boko Haram insurgency in the country, the Nigerian Army has been flagging off and conducting different defense operations across the northeast and other parts of Nigeria to retain control and, of course, in all areas liberated from insurgents.
There's no doubt about that, the Nigerian military has, as it were, shown its determination to reduce significantly the menace of Boko Haram in different parts of the northeast. The successes recorded are the ones that, of course, we shall be taking a look at, plus the challenges that continue to persist with respect to dealing with the remnants of Boko Haram elements.
All right, and of course, what I would like to ask is how much have the joint airstrikes helped in the restoration of normalcy to the affected areas, and what impact has the coordinated effort with border countries and anti-terrorism agencies had in the fight against insurgency? What is the attitude of the public to military operations in the country? And finally, are they getting the right support? And all these questions and more will be answered shortly. So welcome to Good Morning Nigeria for this Tuesday. My name is Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kieran and also welcome you to the program. I just to indicate that the subject matter on dealing with insurgency over the past 4 years is one of the topics that we'll be taking on later on in the course of our conversation segment. But of course, we'll have our regular complementary segments as well, and these include newspaper review, business, and others. In the meantime, let's take the highlights of the morning news, and here is our colleague Ogwa Onyedibia.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the morning news. The 2019 appropriation bill of 9.92 trillion naira has been signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari. Tagged Budget of Continuity, the president dotted lines for implementation amidst regrets over changes introduced by the National Assembly to the initial proposal by the executive, which he described as counterproductive.
Increase reflects changes introduced by the National Assembly. In some areas, expenses we proposed were reduced, while in other areas they were increased.
And President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria under his watch will not let her citizens down as regards the security of lives and property. Well, this was at the meeting with the Northern Governors Forum led by the outgoing chairman, Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State.
What was known to be cattle rustling in Northwest and some parts of North Central has turned out to be something different from what we had before. So this concern made us come and brief Mr. President so that urgent action should be taken in order to curb this deadly menace.
And the president has also advocated the need for traditional rulers and elders of the Niger Delta region to do much more towards ending pipeline vandalism and other acts of economic sabotage in their communities. Receiving the South Monarchs Forum, the president said this is necessary because destruction of all facilities hurts more of the host communities and the environment than the government.
And educate your people, those youths that are restless. Let them stop blowing this thing because they are hurting your people more than hurting the government. When you pollute the area, the majority of your people cannot fish and cannot farm, and that's what they depend on. You have a lot of role to play in securing the area.
And away from that, the Federal Inland Revenue Service is to generate 8.96 trillion naira in the 2019 fiscal year. This was part of the agency's 2019 budget proposals presented by its executive chairman, Tunde Fowler, before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Finance.
The budget has focused on the capacity to increase CIT and other non-oil revenue. Principally, CIT is expected to grow from an actual of 1.4.
And to security matters, the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has decimated a location at Bula Koroge on the fringes of Zambisa Forest in Borno State, being used by Boko Haram terrorists as the meeting venue. The Nigerian Air Force says the attack was conducted on 25 May 2019 following extensive intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions. In a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, human intelligence established that some structures within the settlement were being used as a rendezvous by the Boko Haram terrorists from where they assembled to launch attacks against troops and innocent civilians. Accordingly, the Air Task Force detailed a fighter aircraft to attack the hideout, scoring hits within the target area, leading to significant degrading of the Boko Haram structures. Several Boko Haram terrorists were also killed as a result of the strikes. And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigerians. After this break.
The clock is ticking. It's the signal for the inauguration of the 16th President of Nigeria and 5th President in the 4th Nigerian Republic.
Nigerians are set to mark the beginning of the second term of Muhammadu Buhari as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The first term saw the most massive critical infrastructural development, agricultural revolution, war against corruption, tackling insecurity, and unprecedented social investment programs. Our opportunity to keep moving our country on the path to a prosperous future. It's the next level for the Nigerian people. This is our time as Nigerians. Come, let us celebrate the next level with Muhammadu Buhari, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Date, Wednesday, 29th May 2019. Venue, Eagle Square, Abuja. Time, 8 a.m. prompt. Roll out the drums. Come, let's celebrate.
Announcer Boss Gida Mustafa, Secretary to Government of the Federation and Chairman 2019 Presidential Inauguration Committee.
It's Ramadan. It's okay to share what you love. Ramadan Kareem from Indomie. Indomie Super Pack now available at 85 Naira.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hot Sports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Nigeria's premier sports production and marketing group, Hot Sports, partners with the biggest, the largest, and the #1 television network in Africa, the NTA, to give Nigerians a memorable viewing experience. Boost fan support for the Super Eagles to glory in Egypt. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
There's a smarter way to live with Airtel Binge Plan, the ideal data plan for those heavy data moments. Get a 2 GB daily binge plan for 500 Naira. Dial *141# to activate. Live smarter with data.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
NTA Television College Jos announces admissions into 2-year diploma programs in film and television production, television engineering, and broadcast journalism. The sale of forms will commence on the 13th of May and run through 30th July 2019. Admission forms can be obtained from all marketing offices, NTA state capital stations, zonal centers, or at the office of the academic secretary, NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos.
On payment of a non-refundable fee of 7,500 Naira in bank draft in favor of NTA TV College. Applicants can also obtain the forms through the NTA TV College portal at www.ntatvc.edu.nj.
Applicants are required to possess 5 credits in GCE or SSCE in relevant areas of study in not more than 2 sittings, including English and mathematics. All properly completed forms attached with photocopies of credentials must be submitted on or before 30th July 2019. For further inquiries, please visit our website at ntatvc.com or call 0803-3144-383.
NTA TV College, training you to be the best you want to be.
Registrar, Announcer.
All right, now it's time for business news, with the federal government set to issue the next in the series of green bond, plus customs making a pledge with regard to the self-sufficiency policy of the government. Let's join our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye, for details of these stories.
The Debt Management Office revealed that the fresh issuance of the 15 billion naira bond is coming based on the successful debut green bond issuance of 10.69 billion naira in December 2017, which made Nigeria the first African country to issue green bond. The DMO emphasized that the success of the green bond will depend on engaging investors by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Environment and the Debt Management Office. In another development, the Nigeria Customs Service has said it will support the self-sufficiency initiative of the federal government through relentless fight against smuggling. Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Hamid Ali, remarked that the service is on course to curtail activities of smugglers.
For us is to look at what we have from our own intelligence and from our own operational side and see, can we align with this? And if we do, then how do we together begin to create a roadmap to solve this menace? As you have heard, is eating not only into our own economy, but it's also bastardizing the policy of self-sufficiency in terms of petroleum product. So we, as the enforcers, we as the boundary guard, therefore we are at this moment put as the organs that must do what we need to do.
And the equities market on Monday closed on a negative note as Nigeria Stock Exchange All-Share Index depreciated by 2.22% to close at 30,194 basis points, as against 1.98% depreciation recorded previously. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
Thank you indeed, Kunle. And up ahead is newspaper review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyobe, is right here with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kinsley. Good morning. Good morning,
Yeah, welcome, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Yes,
all right, Kirian, let's begin with you.
Yeah, we have about five newspapers this morning. Let's begin with the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune, above the nameplates, court acquits Jonathan's brother of $40 million fraud. We will appeal, says the EFCC. That's the rider to that. And on the right-hand side, we have Buhari meets northern governors, assures Nigeria will be secured. Page 2 is where you get that story. And now below the nameplate of the Nigerian Tribune, Oyo workers suspend strike to honor Makinde. It's on page 6. Just crisis, death toll rises to 10. Page 2 captured details of that story. Then I have kept 42 billion naira for Ihedioha, says Okorocha, that's the outgoing governor of Imo State. The story is on page 9. Now the lead story on the Tribune this morning is on the 2019 budget will be hard to implement, says Buhari, with two riders as he signs it into law. Executive legislature friction over budget will continue, says Dogara. It's on page 3. And there are other stories, of course, on Zamfara. We have justice not delivered, or Shamole says. INEC issues certificate of return to a new governor and lawmakers elect. It's on page 37. Now, trailers return to Apapa Port access road. It's on page 7. All right, Kinsley.
All right, Kirian, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper, which is next for us, starting from the top right through to the bottom. Insecurity, that's the kicker for the headline above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper. above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, insecurity. Buhari says community leaders and police have failed Nigeria. Rates Saraki and Dogara low on patriotism. Details of that story can be found on page 10. Buhari says community leaders and police have failed Nigeria. Now, 2 earpieces beside the nameplate of the Punch. Federal government has approved 47 billion naira for Nigeria Air, says Sirika. That's on page 23. And Saraki prays for Leah Sharibu and others' freedom, page 9. Late story says with a kicker, primary education, teachers shortage hits public schools, and 28 states fail to recruit personnel. And you have photographs from the Children's Day celebration from different parts of the country yesterday. The first photograph there is from Lagos, another one from Anambra, and Bauchi, and Abuja, Ilorin, that's in Kwara State, as well as at Ibadan. Children's Day celebrations across the country on May 27th yesterday. No single person should constitute poll petitions panel. That's according to former President Goodluck Jonathan. Latest on page 41. Now, how 47,000 artifacts are wasting away in aging national museums. That's a special report inside the paper. And federal government declares Wednesday, that's tomorrow, work-free day. Details on page 14. Now, court sentences Beninese to death for killing employer's mother. And police launch manhunt for hoodlums who killed customs officer in Lagos. I'm working to end banditry and kidnapping, Buhari tells northern governors. Bayon.
Yes, let's start with the budget now. President Muhammad Buhari has assigned the 2019 budget, and it becomes law with the advent of his assent yesterday. He, however, remarked that the adjustment of the budget from 8.3 billion to 8.92 billion may affect its smooth implementation. He said the 90 billion injected will make it difficult for government to realize its set objectives. He observed that National Assembly had actually cut allocations to 4,700 projects, estimated to 347 billion, and introduced 6,403 projects worth 578 billion. He said he assented to the bill so as to slow down the recovery of the economy. He, however, said accordingly, I will send a supplementary or amendment budget to the National Assembly to rectify the critical issues. He says the administration is looking forward into special working the budget, and particularly returning to the budget to the January to December budget cycle. There was also a meeting of 8 northern governors under the auspices of Northern Governors Forum with the president yesterday, and the president told them, I am working very hard to end banditry and kidnapping. The security of the country is on my mind 24 hours. I get daily and weekly situation reports. The governors expressed grave concern about the rising insecurity in the northeast, northwest, and north central, especially the cattle rustling and banditry, as well as kidnapping that is seeking to surpass Boko Haram. The president said he has learned from the governors and will also look into their recommendations. He, however, added that he told the governors experiencing difficulty in the relationship with their security heads to please report to him directly. Meanwhile, there was some skirmishes in Jos, and crisis broke on Sunday following the discovery of the body of a young man, Enoch Monday, between Ungwanda Misa and Duse Uku. Youths went on a rampage, attacking perceived rivals, damaging vehicles, setting houses ablaze. The police public relations, Topep Tema, says the riots in part of Bokos, Sele Junction, Tina Junction, as well as Ungwan Rukuba, have been contained by a combined force of the security agents. The commander, Operation Safe Haven, says that some arrests have been made and normalcy has been restored. However, the security agencies are reworking their security plan for Jos North to ensure that such skirmishes do not occur again.
Yeah, this just incident. In fact, when we thought that normalcy has returned in a particular area, before you know what's happening, there's another there's another ugly situation showing up.
I was just wondering, because I didn't get the sense of that in the reports, the meeting that the president had with the northern governors. Might it not have been also useful if you had the governors elect those who will be taking the oath of office from tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes, it might have been more helpful if you had them in attendance, because some of them are, of course, vacating their offices by midnight today. So what is the utility, therefore, in terms of the carryover information and experience?
It's not just that. So what is critical about this kind of meeting, one question that may arise is what are expected of the governors in terms of security? They don't have control of the military operating in those states. What should be their direct, impact in terms of, securing their states?
Well, of the 8 governors that visited the president, I think it's only 3 of them that are not returning. 5 of them are re-elected governors. But if you also recall, just only last week, the governor of Taraba was on record to say that if there is any governor who says he has competence to handle the security of his state, he is telling a lie. But the challenges are not far-fetched. You recall that about a year and a half ago, kidnapping was a challenge, a serious challenge in Lagos. 2 schools, secondary schools, had their pupils kidnapped. There was massive effort by Lagos state government in consonance with the security. The State House of Assembly came into support. They passed a law making strict regulations regarding kidnapping, prescribing punishment, and where kidnapping had resulted to death, they even prescribed capital punishment. And if you look at the scenario now, kidnapping apparently has gone closely down on the ebb in Lagos. So there must be concerted efforts by the executive, the legislature, and the security to arrest the challenge.
All right.
You have others?
Yes.
I have Daily Trust, but basically the same stories. Let me just run through them very quickly. Daily Trust newspaper, below the nameplate, you have the same stories that we've read. 5 killed, 12 houses burnt in Jos. Crisis, no justice in Zamfara ruling. Oshomole says, that's page 13. Late story, Buhari, I'll make police and judiciary more efficient. And says, no major scandal in my cabinet, and rate Saraki and Ogara low.
All right, to Leadership newspaper. Let's get Leadership newspaper. Below the nameplate of Leadership, federal government targets 20 million jobs as President Muhammadu Buhari signs 2019 budget. And of course, the lead story, crime proceeds bill unsettles anti-corruption agencies, is on page 4 with 2 riders, or 3 rather. Bill creating agency to hold seized funds. Assets await presidential assent. It will frustrate anti-graft war, says the FCC. Is an executive bill that's according to the lawmakers. And of course, at the foot of the Leadership newspaper, 2019 elections litigations rise to 1,575. But before that, housekeeper to die by hanging for killing 79-year-old woman. It's on page 15. Now, $40 million fraud. Court acquits Jonathan's cousin. Federal government panel seeks Interpol's help in loot recovery. It's on page 10. 2023, Amechi can't speak for Southeast, says it will be on page 5.
Yes, I had a comment by the chairman of the All Progressive Congress that there's no justice in the ruling on Zamfara. Well, the Supreme Court is infallible. And if you recall, that is what Justice Oputa said. The infallibility of the Supreme Court relies in the fact that they are the final base of judgment. And once they rule, it is only God that can also rule next. Well, this is a human interest story. People who sleep for more than 5 hours, for less than 5 hours a night, suffer problems of memory loss. However, if you sleep too much and you have as much as 9 hours of sleep, you suffer the same effect. This is an outcome of research.
It's also a matter of debate
too much of
as
anything is
well.
bad.
Of course.
between 5, which is too less,
and 6,
and 9, which is too much, you bridge it between 6 and 7, and you are safe.
All right. Depending on your age, though.
Your age, exactly. Exactly. Let's go to the editorial for this morning, and it's taken from the Sun newspaper. It's actually on page 15 of the Daily Sun newspaper. The task before Emefiele, of course, undoubtedly, the retention of Emefiele as the CBN boss is an acknowledgement of his good performance in the last 5 years and the need to ensure continuity and stability of the current monetary policy. Bio, what do you say about this?
Well, it is, in fact, the editorial is evaluating the governor of the central bank, that the confirmation of his second term is element of confidence in him. However, it has set an agenda for the governor of central bank. It says that he should be able to drive and sustain growth in the economy, and so that the growth we are experiencing will be seen on the ground by way of development. He says the editorial is recommending that the macroeconomic policies should stimulate economic growth. He advised the central bank governor to make sure that the control of money supply is enhanced to support interest rates, inflation, forex, and external reserve. And he said he should also take action so that deposit money banks are allowed to trade in Naira. This will lessen the pressure on the Naira, particularly in the ambit of foreign exchange. He said this will give Naira more liquidity. It also has recommended that as far as cash reserve is concerned, the CRR, which has remained stagnant for a long time, should also be looked up to. And it's hopeful that inflation now is about 11.33, and it dropped by March to 11.25%, and we are hoping that we'll get to single-digit inflation figure.
Yes, and all that will work perfectly well, if you ask me, when we, of course, expand our base in the manufacturing sector. All right, Bayo, I would like to thank you for your analysis this morning.
The way our colleague Kirian talks about manufacturing, sometimes you think that he has a plant at
He's a member of Manufacturing Association of Nigeria.
No, not necessarily, because that is what is making the difference between the West and of course, this part of the country.
I appreciate that. Yes.
I think I agree with you. With the textile industry, Anchor Borrowers program coming for the cotton, revive our textile. We used to have 127 factories. Textile industry. Today they are down to about 57. So that's a positive move.
All right, Bayo, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you again tomorrow. This is Good Morning Nigeria, and we have a number of issues to tackle this morning. We will do that momentarily. Let's take a break.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
One Football Confederation, 24 teams, 6 stadiums, 4 cities, 504 African stars, 1 trophy. The Africa Cup of Nations Egypt 2019 comes alive from June 21 with the showpiece final on July 19, 2019. Watch the 52 matches of the tournament live on Africa's biggest and largest television network, NTA, in partnership with Hot Sports. Be part of the biggest soccer fiesta in the African continent as the Super Eagles go on a bold mission to clinch the prestigious title for the 4th time, to the excitement of millions of fans across the length and breadth of Nigeria. For inquiries, please contact Abubakar on 0803-331-0175 and Felix on 0803-308-2375. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
All right, you're welcome back. And it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As we indicated at the beginning, we have at least 2 topics to discuss this morning, and already we have 2 guests with us in the studios to discuss the 14th Northern Zonal Accountants Conference, which of course kicked off yesterday in Abuja and will last until the 30th of this month. That's a 4-day conference. We have 2 guests, of course, who are with us, as I said, but the theme of the conference is emerging technologies and the future of accounting practice. Let's now welcome to the studios Lawal Ibrahim Ozomata. He's chairman of the Northern Zonal District of the profession. So pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having us, and good morning, Nigeria.
Also with us in the studios, would like to welcome Alhaji Razak Adeleke Jayeola. He is the 54th president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. Alhaji Razak, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right.
Well, gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. Actually, it's a Northern Zonal Accountants Conference, so it's not a national conference, so to speak. And what is interesting, actually, is the theme of this conference, emerging technologies. Whenever it's technology, I'm interested, because that has to a lot to do, with modern day development. And let me ask Alhaji Razak Adeleke.
But not satellites, by the way.
All right. What is this conference all about? So, of course, we know the theme now, but I'm sure there are other areas of concern at the conference.
Thank you very much. We have technology disruptions these days, the likes of robotics, blockchain, Internet of Things, and all that. And they are impacting all professions, accounting not excluded. In fact, the greatest area of impact is to accounting profession, and it's dealing a serious blow to the employment opportunities of accountants where they refuse to upskill themselves. So ICANN deliberately, both national and zonal level, have decided to tackle it frontally. We have a context that we just did to create awareness amongst our members that if they don't upskill themselves, then they will be gone completely. So that is the essence of this conference, to drive it home, to create awareness and tell them the various opportunities that are available, because a lot of opportunities that this technology disruptions is creating all over the place. We do know that in the past, we used to use typewriter, and today we use computers. You can imagine people who are still using typewriter today, they are gone and gone forever. Look at the way Uber took over the taxi industry. Uber does not own a single taxi, and there are people that were not even in taxi business before. So that is the kind of technology disruption that is taking place. technology that is displacing the way that we are doing things, bringing in better models that will shake the industry. That is what we are witnessing today. And as business models are changing, then the way we account for it is also changing.
All right, thank you very much, ICANN President. Let's bring in now the chairman of the Northern Zonal District. How is the district seeking to fit into what the ICANN President has just described in terms of your theme, the number of participants you're having, and where they are drawn from in the Northern Zonal District?
Thank you very much. The Northern Zonal Accountant Conference is one of the conferences that the Institute normally have on annual basis as a mode of mandatory continuous professional education of members to keep members abreast of new events and developments in the profession so that they will not be caught out of space and to remain relevant in the profession and the practice of accountancy generally. The conference is expected to be attended by over 1,000 participants, not just from the northern zone, but from across Nigeria. As we observe already in day one, we already have almost 1,000 participants cut across the federation, because we have all our members around the federation, and because of the nature of the team and the selected topics which are very relevant to the practice of our profession, delegates are looking forward to having an enriched knowledge in terms of the area of coverage of the DIM for the conference.
Well, this conference is targeting emerging technologies and, of course, the future of the practice of that profession. And would you say that since the emergence of a computer system, into social and the business circles in Nigeria, that accountants have been lagging behind in this regard? Is it a reality, or perhaps now you're trying to see how many more accountants can adapt to the new methods and new approach to accounting profession?
Accountants are not lagging behind at all. In fact, we are at the forefront. Right from our parent organization, International Federation of Accountants, consisting of 3 million accountants all over the world, spread over 175 countries. An organization where ICANN was a founding member and we still play prominent roles today. They have developed what we call international education standards, and there are about 8 of them. IES2 International, that defines the technology requirements for chartered accountants, states clearly the kind of technology that accountants must do. So it's an essential part of our program. It's reflected in our syllabus. We used to have what we call Technology Competence Initiative, and over the years, in our various members' education programs, we always feature issues bordering on technology. And of recent, we also had account texts that feature prominently emerging technology disruptions, right in Lagos, attended by several people. And that platform, we created awareness to our members. And so a lot of us even practice, in my own practice, for instance, I practice financial information technology. That is what I do as my own work today. I specialize in technology. We have our various members neck deep in technology. The other day, Access Bank did a program on technology, and you could see the managing director of Access Bank going to deliver a lecture on it, managing director of EcoBank, and so on and so forth. So accountants are already neck deep in technology. We are not behind at all.
What topics are on offer in the course of this conference?
We have artificial intelligence as one of the topics, how it affects the work of the accountants, and we also have how the effect of this technology in respect of the cyber space as it affects the work of a professional accountant. And we are not just looking at that, we have other special features where paper will be presented on how accountants can contribute to the development of the economy of the country using technology.
Yeah, that's a significant one, Kyria, to say the role of accountants interfacing with technology or leveraging technology to help boost the economy. What do you hope to achieve there? What are the issues you intend to highlight for the attendees?
Yeah, if you look at the challenges we are having in the country now that leads to the low performance of the economy, you notice that it is in the area of utilization of resources and how to harness the country's resources. And we believe that when the relevant technologies are applied in the area of harnessing the resources that we have, then we'll be able to mitigate all the challenges that we are having in the economy. Specifically, the role of an accountant is not just record keeping. An accountant manages assets in order to maximize the value of the assets and also to manage costs as much as possible to enable the country to achieve its planned goals. As we are aware, the 2019 budget has just been approved by the President. As implementation goes, the accountants have a very important role to play in advising the government in certain areas how funds should be applied, should be saved so that they could be utilized in more important development activities.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's return to Mr. Jayola. When this kind of conference is held, decisions taken at the conference are usually encapsulated in a communique. But in some cases, after these decisions have been made, they don't impact on the practice of that profession. What are the assurances that, after this conference, if decisions are reached, your professionals, your professional colleagues, will adhere to decisions taken?
Our communique is not just there, just for drawing sake. It's not just our members that it addresses. It addresses various stakeholders. And our advocacy role includes reaching out to various stakeholders to ensure that the relevant message is delivered. We visited the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces during this particular presidential year, and we delivered some of these messages to him. We visited Minister of Budget and Planning, and we drew it home to him that issue of budget getting delayed, that is not it at all, that government should make efforts to try and address it. We draw attention to the fact that 65% being spent on the debt servicing can never make the economy grow. We draw attention to even the ratio of capital to revenue, that it is lopsided. It should, at least at the very minimum, be going to about 60 to 40%. We visited the Minister for Trade, Investment, and Economy. So for each of these visits, there are various messages that we carry arising from our various stakeholders, fora, our conferences, both National Accountants Conference and zonal conferences. So all these messages, and we ensure through the platform of our district societies, we have 54 in number, Any communique that is issued are passed down to the various arms of our structure to ensure that we have chairmen and secretaries, we have executives at district level. Those in the country are about 48. So we have this structure where messages are passed down and our members are impacted and they carry out all this.
Is there any monitoring mechanism?
We do have during each of these conferences, like this Northern Zonal Conference, we have district society meeting where we meet, and we also are trying to introduce one-day program where everybody from the various districts, their representatives, we gather at a particular location, and all these messages, and including some other things the Institute is trying to do where they are disseminated.
All right. I'll just, of course, we have just only a few seconds left before we sign you off, gentlemen. What is the sense of, earlier you talked about the fact that you're going to have technological disruptions, artificial intelligence and blockchain. For the layperson, what does this mean? Are you doing away with the double entry system you used to have in your ledger, preparation of balance sheets and so on and so forth?
Yes, we are doing away with it in a way, because a lot of these things you are doing them manually. Let's take, for instance, robotics. Robotics is a way of doing things that are repetitive in nature. You now get the electronic system to do it. Take, for instance, if you have an organization with about 1,000 branches, and having several accounts, bank reconciliation becomes serious headache. You have to gather a pool of people and all the rest. So what we take about 1,000 people to do and all that, with robotics, it's a matter of seconds.
All right. So which means that almost invariably, like some professions, your jobs might just be threatened. But we do hope that the accountants will respond respond to this appropriately. So on that note, we'd like to, Kieran, thank our two guests who've been with us, Lawal Ibrahim Ozomata, who is the chairman of the Zonal District. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Thank you for having us.
We also would like to thank the 54th president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Alhaji Razak Adeleke Jayola. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, so we are taking a short break now. As we said, we have two other topics later on in the course of our conversation segment.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
Eating around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
To dey disobey traffic law, they cause accidents. Me, I don't talk, say I no go dey do am again, because change begins with me.
I will no longer endanger my life crossing the express. Instead, I will use the bridge, because change begins with me.
Oga driver, stop this bus now, won't come down.
I be one carry me pass where I dey go.
Make I dey stop anyhow for road, they cause traffic wahala and accidents. So I go dey stop for the right bus stop because change begins with me.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, air transportation, no doubt, plays a critical role in economic development of any society. And of course, this is because it helps in terms of movement of goods and persons. And
that is one reason why the Aviation Ministry under the Buhari administration has been busy with in the last 4 years working to complete aviation projects abandoned under previous administrations and even initiating new ones in their efforts to develop the country's aviation sector to something close to world-class standard.
Well, the Honorable Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, is here with us in the studios to tell us some more about what has played out in the aviation sector since 2015. Honorable Minister, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
It's my pleasure.
All right, straight away, let's begin. What has changed in aviation since 2015?
Well, a lot has changed from 2015 till now. Like I said previously, some couple of nights ago, I said that we targeted all those safety critical issues within the industry, and we sorted them out, including those of security. And air transportation being movement, like any other transportation, like pipeline transportation, for example, is movement of goods from one place to another or persons. And what has changed, like I said, safety critical issues, I give you one example. We closed down Abuja Airport to reconstruct and rehabilitate the runway for safety reasons. So these safety critical issues are what we've been attacking, and some of them you don't see them with the passenger don't see them, public don't see them. The only ones you see is like perhaps the well-celebrated runway closure, and it was because it has been closed. Otherwise, all those things we're doing wouldn't have been there. Two, we've installed a number of equipment and facilities around our airports and within the airspace of Nigeria to improve safety. Instrument landing systems have been put, radios have been put in place, and a lot of other things, weather forecasting facilities have all been in place, which hitherto weren't there, and that is a safety concern. And so the Buhari administration actually focused on safety and security in the aviation sector, and of course for passenger facilitation, including completion of the airports. Abuja has been commissioned, Port Harcourt has been commissioned, we've got Lagos and Kano coming online. These are projects we met below 30%, we took it to 100% completion. We made them with a lot of complexities, we tweaked them and made them good for the nation. And just perhaps before I continue, he said that close to world-class standard. Aviation actually is aviation, there is only one aviation, there's no aviation B. So every standard that we would attain in Nigeria is the international standard. We are regulated internationally by International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. Therefore, everything that we would do must be to world class. And that's what it is. And we've been scoring points. For example, also that in matters of security, when the ICAO conducted safety audit and security audits, we scored about 97% in security. So, and that's more than world class. When the average in the world is scoring about 62, 63, we scored 97 in Nigeria. And then we're doing more. So these and much more have changed. We have trained and retrained our staff. We reoriented them. Mr. President has done something that nobody had done before. Another example is that the aviation security, AFSEC, Mr. President has approved for them to bear arms and secure our airports some more. Currently, they're being trained and profiled by the Department of State Security Services. And once they come on board, they would look like those TSA. That's the appearance, of them. But they would work much more diligent, knowing the vulnerability of our own society and the uniqueness of the Nigerian society, as it were. So many things have changed, really. The training institution has become the Regional Training Center of Excellence for Africa by ICAO. We've improved upon it. We bought, just yesterday I was there to commission quite a number of projects that we started in that college and finished, including a fighting simulator, which before we came in fact, the very first check that I would have signed as a minister was requesting me to spend close to $500,000 to train Nigerian firefighters in Cameroon. And I asked, what has gone wrong? Why can't we do it here? And then I approached Mr. President. He approved $5.2 billion. We procured that simulator. It was constructed, bespoke, tailor-made for our needs in Zaria, and we put it there. So other nations can now come and use it. So we have done quite a number of things silently in this industry.
All right. In your opening comments, you made mention the fact that you met some projects under 30% completion, and you are bringing them to 100% completion at the moment. So, which invariably means that before this administration came to power, there's been a drastic drop, in terms of standard and quality of our airports, and security being, topmost in the list. Now, tell us more about what the government has been able to do in providing the area of navigation, actually, at the airports. And of course, I want you to be more specific about some of the projects that are taking place in some vital airports in Nigeria, especially those who are involved in cargo transportation.
Well, talking about projects, the much I can remember from the records, we embarked on 157 number of projects. Most of them we started. Some of them, a good number, were started before us. And President instructed us, all ministers, to complete abundant projects or projects that are started by other governments, which is very unique in his style. And his thinking is that so long as we keep finishing projects and completing them, those that are started, Nigeria would have been in another place by now. So we commenced that and we initiated new ones. And out of that 157 number of projects, we've completed 134, 100%. Commissioned some of them, Mr. President commissioned some of them, and there are so many that we have not commissioned yet. And to be specific and to certain airports, like you said, let me take Benin, for example, Benin Airport. When we came, Benin Airport has no fencing, for example, have no instrument landing system, they don't have weather forecasting system, etc., etc. We came in, we secured the airport, we put instrument landing system on the ground so that the airplane will touch down at the threshold, being and center line, and in a reduced visibility, bad weather condition. We also installed a satellite-based system in Benin, just in case that you're not able to use the land equipment to land for some reason, or it's gone down, then you can still use the satellite-based, performance-based navigation equipment that is there installed in Benin. We're also putting up the cargo terminal there in Benin, perishable items, because people are producing tomatoes and so on in Benin that are perishable, that we can consider that can be transported out of country to earn foreign exchange. And that is going on at the moment, hasn't been completed. And then we installed weather forecasting equipment. We donated to also University of Benin weather forecasting equipment for training purposes. So a lot has been done. This is just in Benin. If I take Kano, I take Lagos, I take Abuja, there's so many things that we've been doing. Mr. President has been very, very gracious. We faced a few challenges here and there, lack of good budgetary allocations and releases, but all the same, we're able to achieve the much that we have achieved. And we're doing quite a number of projects. I can take you through all of the airports in Nigeria, and the time wouldn't have permitted me to say so.
All right. I was just wondering, but while we're still with the Benin airport, it's one of Nigeria's oldest airports. Thank you for what you have done. Are you planning on extending the runway of that airport? Because if it's going to be a cargo airport, depending on the size of the aircraft that would use the airport, there might be some issues with regard to the runway.
We have looked at the length of the Benin airport for the purpose for which it's being used now. It is adequate, but indeed it needs to be extended. My last visit about a week and 2 weeks ago or so, we went there, we inspected with the governor. Graciously, the governor agreed to come. A very proactive governor, by the way. He has always been in my office asking for one thing or another. and I'm very grateful to him for the support as well. So we went down the extended center line of the runway. It's doable to extend it, and there's a lot of movement of material. There will be a lot of movement of materials to extend the runway, huge civil works to be done, but it's possible, and it's in our thinking. It's also in our plan. And the governor also has been thinking that whether he can partner with us to provide the funding to extend the runway. If he does that, that will be also unprecedented, and that will be also good for that airport. And that airport has the potentiality of carrying. And by the way, when I went there, I said that, look, Bini is what Kaduna is to the north, or Enugu to the east, or Ibadan to the southwest. We cannot degrade our forefathers. We cannot afford not to be able to, with the rich history, with the over 1,000 years of history and culture and tradition. And it's been a center for commerce, for trade. You know, I think Bini deserves all of these. And by the way, I lived in Bini for 3.5 years. So I do know that city, and we're very jealous about that airport. We've been improving it since we came. We'll continue to do so. And not only Bini, for so many other airports, like Ibadan, for example.
Okay,
and
still not.
What you have done in Benin, you have not done in Enugu. You lived in Benin.
No.
Now, okay, let's go to Enugu now.
So
let's go to Enugu now. Let us know what has happened.
No. On Enugu, by the way, from the 5 airport terminals that we're doing now, new, one of them is located in Enugu. And Enugu has certain peculiarities, which we've been battling to sort out. Until recently, when the state government came in to do some of the things that we're asking for. Right at the beginning of the runway, we had a river, and then we had a market. And that market, because they sell grains there, and also because they have abattoir there, they attract birds. And these birds get ingested into the engines of airplanes. And this is a safety concern and hazard. We've been battling to move that market. Until finally, when I said I would shut down the runway for safety concerns, and state government did the needful. The governor promised me earlier than that, though, to be fair to him, that he would move them, and he has now moved them. That is one. On the other side of the runway, you have radio masts belonging to state government. State government, once I visited the governor decided to remove them. He has removed them. And also the free trade zone that is located at the end of the runway, and that also is being removed. The next challenge is to move people out of the premises of the airport itself, because the former governor promised to compensate a few, 2 or 3 or 4 houses that were there within the premises so we can secure the airport. But once he said that, people began to just build anyhow. And now there are many of them, in tens of them, in that premises. So we need to remove those, then secure the airport, and then continue with the runway expansion. The runway must be extended. It's a very short runway, totally broken down. You know, we're doing what we were doing on Abuja before. We'll fix it, overnight. It lasts for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and then again we fix it. So it's been guzzling money. But in fairness, we have so many things for Enugu. That terminal building is a $200 million terminal building anyway. And there's no airport that we've spent that amount of money on. And the runway will be extended. We have landing equipment and everything sorted out for Enugu. But just we're waiting for them to remove those structures within the airport, and we go in there and extend it.
All right. While we're still on the runway, 2 years ago, one of the critical issues that came out following the shutdown of the Abuja runway was to say, look, we're fixing this runway, but a second runway will be inevitable. Is that on the cards going forward?
Yes, Mr. President has directed that we should put a new second runway in Abuja. We've done all the needful since those 2 years ago, and we've been going back and forth between us and the BPP, Bureau for Public Procurement, to appoint the consultants. We've identified a contractor or contractors, which we will select one from, and we've identified the consultants. So we're now at the BPP. We're going back and forth. The last council would have taken the second runway memo. Unfortunately, it didn't make it because we just jump-packed. There are so many critical issues to be dealt with within the council. So I'm sure whoever the next minister would be, he would address that, because it's just at the final stages. It will just be done. And I guarantee you it's at the top list, priority list of Mr. President. And since we thank God he's back in power, he will ensure that that is done.
What has happened, Kira? I just say though, because Kaduna served as a relief What has happened to Kaduna Airport, since the traffic moved back to Abuja?
Oh yes, Kaduna Airport has been functional. We tried, the governor is trying to do quite a number of things there. Kaduna is a good candidate for so many other things. He has, he's trying to attract investors. He's created a free zone around the airport. He's creating a maintenance, repair and overhaul facility around the airport. I had inspected it. We would be willing, or the ministry would be willing to partner with the Kaduna State government to provide some of these things that will attract people. You see, every airport is viable. It depends on the activity around that airport. And you can create those activities. I mean, during the stakeholder forum in Lagos at one point, someone challenged me that if I want to concession airport, I should begin from Katsina, thinking that Katsina airport is not viable. No, it is. If Katsina, from the last record I have, when I was serving in Katsina in 1999, I do remember that we have about 37 dams, big dams. Sabke, Gwegwe, Zobe, all of them. Now, if all of those dams will begin to produce tomatoes, chilies, and onions, and so on, and you ferry them out of country to 5 hours away in London, a handful of tomatoes in London, 10 pounds, handful. A whole basket in my village is 300 naira, 1,000 naira max during the harvest season. So it's a big honor. And once that activity will start, exporting these things, and planes will be coming in, then there will be services, then wheels and brakes, then, and then the multiplier effect and so on and so forth. That, and that's the purpose and the function of the of air transportation. I saw in your introduction where you made mention that it's an enabler of business. Yes, it is. Air transportation connects businesses, connects markets, connects trade, connects culture, tradition, history, people. Yeah. People travel for very many reasons, including tourism. It's the only enabler for tourism. That will boost it. And it's also is an economic booster, air transportation.
All right, Honorable Minister, your attempt to float a national carrier could not hold for obvious or certain reasons in the past. Is government still thinking in that direction of floating a national carrier?
Yes, the national carrier question is still alive, in place, and government is committed to it for all of the good reasons, and that it has. But it's going to be private sector-led and driven. The challenges to air transportation has been identified. When we came in, we didn't just start it off the top of our head. We conduct study, and we had the numbers which will support flotation of a carrier, strong, viable one. And it will be private sector-led and driven. Now, that is on the card, and it's still going. It will be achieved, by the way. Let me say that for every single wide-body aircraft that you bring into the country, you are importing 300 jobs directly. Every single, maybe 777 or 787. You bring it in the country, just one, you employ 300 people, skilled labor, plus those that are not direct. So if you have 10 of them, it's 3,000 jobs. And the multiplier effect, every single person out of those 3,000 is either that he has a father and mother, or he has even father, mother, wife, and kids. So, and that is one. Second reason is that you could see from the small activity that these small-time airlines are doing in Nigeria. We're able to move up from 0.4 contribution to GDP to 0.6. And we would go solid numbers, 1 to 3% is my projection, once this carrier is in place. And why should there be a carrier in Nigeria? What are the numbers? Nigeria's, first and foremost, for investors, Nigeria's rate of return on investment is 34%, the highest in the world. Nigeria has a population of 200 million people. Nigeria is geographically at the center of Africa, equidistant from all locations. Nigeria is a good candidate for air transportation, reason being that the GDP is directly proportional to growth and to survival of air transportation industry. The GDP of Nigeria is 450 billion, and that is the biggest in Africa. All of these things, and Nigerian people are traveling people. They travel even for nothing. So all of these things add up to make Nigeria a big candidate. And we have indicators. Those indicators are these foreign airlines that are coming in. Out of all of the airlines that are operating in Africa, some about 90% of them are non-African carriers. And this should not be the case. So we do believe that once this thing is on board, even price of tickets will change, because there will be no longer a monopoly by these foreign carriers, by British Airways. Look at the ticket from Abuja to London. It's shorter than Accra to London, but you're paying twice from Abuja to London than you're paying from Accra. And the reason is because there's no competition. And because there's huge market.
Yeah, I just wonder, just to add to that. Now, some commentators have said, look, why we are sorting out the paperwork and then, of course, the money to float the national carrier, could we explore the possibility of a flag carrier? That's one. And secondly, what exactly are we doing with our BASA at the moment? That's the bilateral air services agreements, which is soft money.
Well, flag carrier, we have flag carriers. We've designated many airlines to be going to countries on behalf of Nigeria. And the newest entrant into this business is Air Peace. We've allowed Air Peace to go to China, Gwangju. We've allowed Air Peace to go to UAE, Dubai, and Sharjah. We've allowed Air Peace to go to London. We've allowed Air Peace to go to Houston. And by the way, we have an open air sky with the US, the only country in the world that we have that. So bilateral air service agreements, yes, we have them. And some of them, we're operating them commercially to make some earnings. And these monies are industry money meant for development of aviation. Some of the programs that we've been doing are out of this bilateral air service agreement money. Flag carrier status is different from national airline. Right. National airlines belongs to the nation. Okay? And flag carrier can be designated. It can be both a national carrier and a flag carrier. But in this case, in the one that we're trying to do, because we are procuring it with a PPP model, public-private partnerships, in the public, the first P there is government. And why government? Because most of these investors are most of the willing partners, because it is from where we is from Africa. They really want to see that sovereign shoulder with which their investment can lean upon. Okay? And that's why we're bringing in government in it. And because consistently for a very long time, entrepreneurs have failed to take air transportation to the level where it should be, we need to do this. And that's why we say, okay, government can own less than 5% in this venture, so that sovereign shoulder will be there, so investor will come. And believe me, we've been getting a lot of. And then this aviation roadmap that we're driving currently is a cluster of things and events, and they're all intertwined. All right. We've got the national carrier to feed the maintenance, repair, and overhaul center, and that maintenance, repair, and overhaul center will now feed the airline, and the airline also will be needing some funding. So we're establishing an aviation leasing company where you can draw cheap funds, single digits, and do aviation business like handling, for example, ground handling, like airline, like whatever other business you want to do in aviation. So all of the roadmap is actually intertwined. Even the university that we're trying to float is an aeronautical university to go into research and development, to improve upon governance, to build that industry to where it should be.
Okay, and that will, of course, expand the horizon of the aviation industry. And at this point, Honorable Minister, we'd like to appreciate your comments and, of course, your contribution to this conversation. Thank you very much indeed. Hadi Serika is the Minister of State, Aviation. Thank you one more time for being here, sir.
Well, I don't like what NTA does to me. You give me so little time to speak, And I've been quite press shy, but every time I come here, you give me so very minutes. But thank you, it's well appreciated anyway.
Yes, we have done over 20 minutes, sir.
Oh, really?
Thank you. We have other things to talk about this morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure indeed. This is Good Morning Nigeria, and the next topic for conversation this morning is on the achievements made in the fight against the insurgency in Nigeria, especially in the northeast of the country. Stay with us. We'll be right back in a moment.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
What is fake news? A false information with no verifiable source presented as true story on media platforms with the sole intention of causing injuries, chaos, and disaffection between persons, groups, or countries. Fake news facilitates extremism. Fake news creates panic and distrust. Fake news breeds hatred. Fake news kills. Don't joke with it. Don't be in a rush. Verify your sources and facts. It is better late than fake. This message is brought to you by NTA News 24.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
All right, welcome back. And it's still Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As we indicated, this third topic for conversation this morning, and we're taking a look by taking stock of the fight against insurgency in the past 4 years. We actually have 4 guests with us in the studios, and so we hope to do justice to the subject matter in the remainder of the time that we have for the rest of the program. First, let's welcome Colonel Onyema Nwachukwu. Nwachukwu is the Acting Director of Defense Information. Colonel, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Also here with us in the studios, we have Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola. He is Director of Public Relations and Information of the Nigerian Air Force. Air Commodore, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
And
Good morning.
also this morning with us is Kaibiru Adamu, a Security and Risk Management expert. He's, of course, is a known face on Good Morning Nigeria when it comes to the issue of security. And Dr. Mohammed Bolama, the Commissioner of Information and Culture, Borno State, is also with us this morning. He's joining us from Maiduguri Network Center. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mohammed Bolama.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin with Kabiru Adamu. As my colleague Kirian said, Kabiru is a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, and of course has spent quite some time in the Northeast, particularly in and around the Maiduguri area and other action locations. Kabiru, looking back, 2015, are we where we used to be with regard to the fight against insurgency?
No. Remarkable improvements have been recorded. The most significant one is the absence of territorial dominance and control by any of the insurgent groups that are active in the Northeast. Just before this government came into power, almost about 27 local governments across the Northeast were under their control. By that, I mean they were administering them. Just like a local government or a state government would administer a state, they will be collecting taxes, running them according to their political systems. But currently, nothing like that exists. However, there are about 12 local governments in Borno State presently where there are wards that are inaccessible. By inaccessible, I mean there is a cat and mouse game between the military and the insurgent groups. Currently, the most significant one is Baga, which is on the fringes of Lake Chad
basin, where unfortunately we have the presence of especially the Islamic State in West Africa province. If you go to these wards that I'm talking about, you would see markings on structures that would indicate that there is some presence of at least the Islamic State in West Africa province or the other group called Jamaat al-Alsan al-Dawati wal-Jihad. So significant progress have been made in that regard.
Okay, thank you, Kabiru Adamu. As we proceed, as we make progress rather in this conversation, we'll return to you for further analysis. But for now, let's go to Dr. Mohamed Bulama in Burundi. Just as Kingsley earlier asked, are we where we used to be with respect to insurgency in the northeast of Nigeria? Of course, Maiduguri has been the epicenter of the insurgency, you know, within the last years. Well, we are talking about the fact that from 2015 till now, perhaps there may be, you know, changes in what's on ground. So let us fill you on the situation. What's your assessment of what has happened in the last 4 years?
Thank you very much once again. I will be the first to admit that there are indeed problems. We have had or experienced some resurgence of the insurgency in the recent past. There's no question about that. However, like my brother Malan Kabir said, I think that no sane person can deny that we have had remarkable improvements in the security situation in the Northeast. At least I can speak for my state, Borno. 4 years ago, we didn't even have a functional airport. There were no flights out of Maiduguri because of the crisis of the insurgency. There were local governments that were totally inaccessible, many of them fully under the control of the Boko Haram. We could not ply these roads. The only access road into Maiduguri was the Kano-Maiduguri road. And there were litanies of problems indeed. Even Maiduguri, the state capital, was barely safe enough for people to live in. And so in these 4 years, we have experienced a lot of changes. We have seen a situation where the bulk of the IDPs who were resident in Maiduguri, you know, because at the height of the crisis, there were over 2 million people who poured into the state capital, Maiduguri, from the local government areas, you know, most of whom were living in the host communities, but a substantial number of which were also living in the IDP camps. Many of these camps have been closed down today, and the people have been taken back home to their ancestral local government areas, and we could only do that because of the improvement in the security situation, thanks to the efforts of our the federal government and the armed forces of Nigeria. But like I said at the beginning, that is not to suggest by any means or by any way that there are no challenges. We do have challenges. We do have, like Kabiru said again, in places in northern Borno in particular, where wards and in some cases even most of the local government areas like Abadam local government, for instance, Marte local government, these are local governments that we still having problems with. But I think generally speaking, there's no question that we have had a lot of improvement, and that is why we've been able to develop, I mean, the state government had the enabling environment to embark on developmental projects in Maiduguri and rebuilding of communities that were hitherto destroyed by Boko Haram. So if you go to places like Bama today, if you go to Goza, if you go to Dambua, you will see a lot of things on ground to suggest that there has been a significant improvement in the security situation. But certainly it is not yet Uhuru.
All right, Mohammed Bulama, thank you very much. We'll return to you in the course of this conversation. And just carry on, by the way, you know, there is a clock behind him there. That clock is from Maiduguri. Our viewers shouldn't mind that the clock is reading 10 a.m. There's something wrong with the batteries. I'm sure we'll work on the batteries subsequently. All right, now let's come to our guests in the studios, Colonel Luwanchukwu and, of course, Air Commodore Daramola. First, from the Defense Acting Director of Information. The stories indicated by our two other guests will show that there's been some improvement, remarkable improvement in the situation that we had 4 years ago versus what we're having now. And it should be fairly obvious that that has come at great cost in terms of men and material, plus even the exertions by the military. How has this come about? That's to say the improved situation.
Thank you so much. I would like to add my voice to the earlier speakers who had made comments about the remarkable improvement about the insurgency in the country, particularly in the northeast, eastern part of the country. I want us to take a look and flashback at 2013, 2014. What was the situation, even right here in the Federal Capital Territory? What was the security situation in those contiguous states that surround the Federal Capital Territory? What was the situation in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states concerning the issue of insurgency? We will recall that 2013-2014, before the advent of this current administration, the situation was such that we couldn't sit out there, even right here in the Federal Capital Territory, with our families, with our friends, to share drinks or to spend time outside. And there was so much apprehension and tension that the insurgents, or terrorists if you like, had taken over the entire, virtually the entire Federal Capital Territory. And public places were a difficult place to go. And today, what it looks like is that we can sit out there, share drinks with our friends. Our troops were able to push them out of the Federal Capital Territory, push them out of Borno State, push them out of the contiguous states around Borno State, speaking about Adamawa and Yobe states, and push them to the fringes of the Lake Chad region in northern Borno. I also recall that 2013-2014, Boko Haram insurgents were taking territories and administering them, just like one of the earlier speakers had mentioned. They declared a caliphate in Goza. They had a spiritual headquarters in Alagarno. They almost invaded the government house in Yobe State. But in 2015, with the strategic guidance of the commander-in-chief, the marching order that was given to the service chiefs to move to the military command and control center at Maiduguri, a new strategic inject was made into the operation. The operation was reinvigorated. It was renamed rechristened from Operation Zaman Lafia to Operation Lafia Dole, meaning that peace is very important to us. And we're able to push out the insurgents, and that's with the jointness of the efforts of the land troops, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Air Force, and of course the maritime component, which is the Nigerian Navy.
All right, Kingsley, we'll go to Air Commodore Ebukunle Daramola. Now, in our opening comment, we made reference to the precarious situation in Abuja and elsewhere in the Northeast during the period highlighted by him. And we would like to appreciate your own efforts in ensuring that their situation, changed within the last 4 years, because we've not had so much about Air Force operations in combating insurgency until lately, perhaps 2016, 2017, as the case may be. So let's get your view about, what actually transpired in the fight against insurgency from your own point of view.
Okay, thank you very much. What I must say is that the holistic efforts of the federal government in terms of supporting the armed forces, the orders given by the commander-in-chief, and the directives that were complied with the service chiefs to move to the theater of operation, And then the combined efforts of the land, air, and of course the maritime component led to these successes that were recorded and the drastic change from what was prior to 2015. And like you said, it didn't seem to be evident that much what the Air Force was doing at the time. But because of the potency of air power, the lethality, the firepower, the accuracy that air power gives, coupled with the efforts of the surface forces on the ground, we have seen that the terrorists have been pushed, as has been said by the previous speakers, to the fringes of Lake Chad and certain minimal areas, and they have been largely degraded by all of these operations. But I must say that it is not just kinetic operations, because kinetic operations, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, air interdiction, armed reconnaissance, casualty evacuation, tactical airlift, all of these thousands and thousands of sorties have been flown, leading to the degrading of the camps and the hideouts, causing the terrorists to, flee most of the areas that have been attacked. But aside from this, we have also conducted, all the three services, non-kinetic operations. Like the Commissioner of Information said in Borno State, a lot of IDPs were displaced, and they had been camped in a lot of IDP camps because counter-insurgency operations are intelligence-led operations. It is necessary, apart from intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, to get intelligence, imagery intelligence on the ground, you also need human intelligence. And how to get human intelligence is a function of winning the hearts and minds. It's a function of getting the support of the people on ground so that they know they have a sense of ownership of this fight against terrorism. So carrying out these winning hearts and minds programs, medical outreaches, level 2 hospitals were constructed by and established by the Nigerian Air Force in Bama and Dalori. Sometimes we even have to use our helicopters to evacuate IDPs from various locations to our hospitals in order to, so it gives them a sense of understanding that the narrative that has been espoused by these terrorists is totally wrong, that the federal government cares, the armed forces of Nigeria cares. So that has also added to the impetus of the kinetic operations and the non-kinetic operations to ensure that success is achieved. So the Nigerian Air Force conducting airstrikes, conducting operations, kinetic operations, and I must mention that the ISR operations are more than 65% of the missions that we conduct. The essence of this, one, is of course for intelligence, but secondly to ensure that the places that are attacked are purely, terrorist locations, and to ensure that there's accuracy in the conduct of our operations.
All right, which is very important. Having your target, is very important too. Kingsley, you may recall that some weeks ago, the traditional rulers in Zamfara made some comments about, misfiring, some from the Air Force. All right, now. By the time we return to you, it will be necessary for us to look at what the Air Force has in its arsenal, in terms of acquisition of fighter jets, helicopter gunships, and, other equipment that you require to discharge your duty. But for now, let's give you this information. The special interview with President Muhammadu Buhari will be retransmitted by 9 a.m. That's immediately after Good Morning Nigeria. I hope you will stay with us for that interview. Now let's get to Kingsley.
All right, that will be on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and all the NTA stations are required to continue to hook up to the network service for the special interview with President Muhammadu Buhari was conducted by the NTA. All right, let's return to our guest, Kabiru Adamu. Kabiru, in your opinion, what have been the critical success factors in the remarkable turnaround in the fight against insurgency, and therefore, how can we escalate those factors so that there is no regression into what went on before 2015?
I would like to approach them from 3 points of view. At the strategic level, well, the policy level first, the strategic level, and then the operational level. My co-speakers have mentioned a lot of factors at the operational level, especially the coordination between the air forces, the land, and then the naval forces. We've seen remarkable improvement in that regard. That does not mean we're hearing chatter of certain disagreements between some of the components of the Nigerian armed forces. So that needs to be looked into closely as we go forward. At the strategic level, I'm not too comfortable with the overemphasis on the military approach. Yes, especially the air commander. The air commander. He's mentioned extensively on the kinetic component of the counter-insurgency approach. But we need to see support from especially the police. The immigration border aspect is very critical, especially given the nature of Borno. It's contiguous to about 3 countries. So we need to see an improvement in that. And we've seen 1 or 2 areas where there have been improvement in that regard, especially from the police, which has contributed to the success that we've received. I know that there have been deployments of several members of the Nigerian police force to Bama and other locations in Borno State. So that has been really, really remarkable in helping the progress. One key word, which the Air Commander has mentioned repeatedly, is winning the hearts and minds of the people. We've also seen an improvement in that regard, perhaps because of the remarkable support the people of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa gave President Buhari during the 2015 elections and again during the 2019 elections. So it's clear that they are very supportive of his government, and we've seen that support, translated to the Nigerian armed forces. However, in recent times, we're a bit concerned with some of the successes, I would quote and unquote, by especially the Islamic State in West Africa province, where it has overrun some military formations, especially in northern Borno, and unfortunately has been able to take control of some of the weapons that hitherto was in the hands of our military. We're also seeing what appears to be a link between this faction of Islamic State at ISWAP and then the faction that is in the Greater Sahara, especially in Burkina Faso. Currently, this link is at the level of propaganda. But if you look at it at the strategic level, it appears this link is going to be operational very soon. So we're likely to see an arm of ISWAP in Nigeria collaborating with an arm of ISWAP in the Greater Sahara region. And unfortunately, that means the entire Sahel region will have one ISWAP operating from northeast through northwest Nigeria. And so several states in that region will be affected by this. So I'm hoping that the Nigerian military is looking at this closely. The intelligence element of especially the DSS, the Nigerian Intelligence Agency, I'm hoping that, National Intelligence Agency are looking at all of these components so that going forward, intelligence can be, the priorities of our intelligence collection can be focused in those areas to provide the information that will be needed at the strategic level for ensuring that this does not become a problem in the future.
Okay, we'll return to Maiduguri, where we have Dr. Mohammed Bolama. In your opening comments, you affirmed to the fact that there are challenges being recorded, despite the fact that there are huge successes, in terms of security in the northeast of Nigeria. May we know some specific challenges in question at this point where Nigeria is celebrating the fact that Boko Haram has been decimated to a reasonable level? What are those challenges, and how, in your opinion, could those challenges be addressed?
Yeah, thank you very much. These challenges are obviously there for everybody to see, at least people living in Borno State. Like I said at the beginning, we have experienced some resurgence, of the insurgency. And so we have found ourselves in a situation where the insurgents have been able to carry out attacks here and there in the state. Many examples abound. Recently, they attacked a community in Askira local government. They attacked Gubio town, Magumeri town, Gajiganna. Just to mention a few of the towns and communities where attacks have taken place of recent. And some of the roads that lead in and out of Maiduguri are still inaccessible, largely so. Maiduguri Biu Road, for instance, this road was reopened sometime, I think, in 2016. Hitherto it was completely inaccessible. And some human activity do take place, especially with the protection of the military. But even along that road, we find a situation where attacks are mounted by the insurgents from time to time. Bama, Maiduguri, you don't need any escort to go, but even then there are some dangers involved. The same for Maiduguri-Ngala Road, which perhaps is definitely one of the most important roads in this country because it leads, it's the gateway to some part of West Africa and especially to East and Central Africa. A very, very critical road. But we experienced some attacks here and there. You recall that during the campaigns for the 2019 elections, there was an incident. The governor's convoy was involved in an incident with the Boko Haram while the governor was trying to go to Gamborungala, a border town, to campaign. And like Madam Kabiru also clearly pointed out, we do have problems along the shores of the Lake Chad, around Baga, Marte, Abodam, and the rest. So we have these pockets of areas where the insurgents have been active. But there's no question about them enjoying any territorial dominance or control over the space of Borno State. We don't have that. But yet we have this situation. And it has even resulted in some of the IDPs, having to return back to Maiduguri or to places like Monguno because of this problem. So I think that we need to focus on that and deal with it. The general overall picture is that there has been a very significant improvement in the situation, but especially of late, we're having some problems here and there.
All right, Dr. Bulamal, thank you very much there for your comments. Let's return to Colonel Nwachukwu with us here in the studios. I asked the question earlier in terms of cost as to what we've been able to achieve in the Northeast. Now, very little often is heard about, service personnel, at least in the public domain. What is happening, to those service personnel who, who unfortunately, their families now who lose their lives, and then to those who get injured, and that's one. And secondly, do you have enough public support for the kind of actions that you are undertaking on behalf of the safety and security of all of us? And going forward, what are the assurances?
Thank you very much. I would like to to mention that at the inception of the counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency operation in the Northeast, we were able to identify a few key focal points. One of them is the ideology of Boko Haram. And secondly, we had the issue of recruitment drive of the Boko Haram. And then thirdly, the IED campaign of Boko Haram. We also looked at the issue of galvanizing support for our troops. Because back then, we realized that there was this tacit support for Boko Haram. And that manifested in the forms of provision of smuggling of logistics, like fuel, like food, like medication, to the insurgents. But we're able to address these issues squarely. The issue of ideology, for instance, we developed a counter-ideology campaign, which we were able to pass out to the public through various media channels and using Muslim Islamic clerics who have moderate views. We're also able to counter Boko Haram recruitment drive by also sensitizing the public on the ills of insurgency and terrorism in the Northeast. We're able to bring to the views of the local publics in the Northeast what Islam looks like outside this climb in other Arab countries. We're able to show them how Muslims practice Islam in other parts of the country. And of course, we're able to make them realize the fact that the ideology being espoused by Boko Haram is a false ideology. And by that, we're able to block the recruitment drive of Boko Haram. Because of the decimation and the blocking of the recruitment drive, Boko Haram resorted to what? To the use of IED campaign, callously using women and children to carry out suicide bombings, to attack soft targets with IEDs. And what we did again was to go about sensitizing the local publics using the various media channels and of course disseminating those information in the various local languages, Kanuri, Hausa, and of course English. We're also able to reach out to the foot soldiers of Boko Haram through some other media channels by the use of leaflets, dropping messages to discourage them and to make them surrender to our troops. And I think we're able to achieve a lot through that. Now, talking about the cost of our operations, of course, we're not on a picnic in the Northeast. We're at war in the Northeast. And in wars, we expect that we would have human and equipment casualties. And I think as far as the Nigerian military is concerned, we have paid a price, very dear price, in the fight against insurgency in the Northeast. But the good thing is this, that we have the total support of Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief. He has the political will, he has the political zeal, and that's been providing the required support for our operations in the Northeast. Again, we have welfare programs that the military have introduced in the course of this operation to assuage the suffering of families and relations of those who lost their lives, who paid the supreme sacrifice in the course of the operation. And we also have medical evacuation welfare programs, evacuating those who are wounded, those who are injured, who have serious injuries, they're flown abroad for treatment. And we developed medical centers right there in the theater where surgical operations could be carried out, where treatments could be carried out for those who are wounded in action. For the families and relations of those who paid the supreme sacrifice, there is a complete and a very comprehensive welfare package to take care of their children, pay for their school fees in schools and all that, take care of their spouses and their widows, so to speak. And we also have the women wing, the other, what I would call the Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association, Nigerian Army Officers' Wives Association, Nigerian Air Force Wives Association, and of course the Nigerian Navy Wives Associations, who cater for, aside what we are doing as a military, who outside what we do, cater for the families, yes, empower them in ensuring that they have a means of livelihood.
Thank you. Time is not on our side at this moment, but let's return to Daramola once more. And I'm going to ask you to speak to the issue of the synergy between the army, the police, the Navy, the Air Force. Of course, we've not had any amphibious approach to this fight against insurgency. We've not had any yet from the Navy. So what is the synergy like? There has been complaint about, the possibility of not having, a united action among the forces, that are fighting the insurgency. So what is the relationship?
Well, I want to disabuse the minds of anyone who has such an impression, because there is no way we could have conducted the operations in the Northeast without adequate joint planning and joint execution of operations. If not, we would have been talking about blue-on-blue fratricide. There would have been attacks on own forces without proper coordination. So the operations in the Northeast, the counter-insurgency operations in the Northeast, are being conducted jointly. And in this case now, even with the multinational joint task force, with the late Chad Basin countries operating, we're operating with Niger Republic, with Cameroon, with Chad, and Nigeria, conducting Operation Yanchin Tafki. So the air forces and the surface forces of these 4 countries are operating together to deal with the insurgents within the Lake Chad, the fringes of Lake Chad. So in terms of coordination between the Air Force, the Army, the police, and even certain other elements, there is a considerable level of synergy that has ensured that the success that we have achieved today remains. I also want to mention, because you talked about acquisition of new platforms, what we have enjoyed as a result of the immense support from the federal government is that the Nigerian Air Force has acquired 18 new platforms since 2015 till now, apart from the 15 or so that have been reactivated. That has brought an immense boost. That has made it possible that we've been able to conduct up to 20,000 flying hours within these past 4 years. Now, the new platforms, for instance, the 10 Super Mushak aircraft, people don't realize that flying those number of hours requires crew rotation, and therefore you must generate a large number of pilots to be able to have enough to carry out these sorties. So those 10 Super Mushak have made it possible to increase training by over 700%. And so we have a large number of young pilots coming out from there. And then the 4 Mi-35M attack helicopters have added impetus to close air support operations. We have 2
what about
Gusa-109.
necessary training for the pilot to be able to man the aircraft?
That is the training we're talking about. The 10 Super Mushak are to produce those pilots. 92 pilots have been winged within the last 4 years alone. That is unprecedented. And then there is recurrency training going on constantly. So the level of pilot capacity that we have now in the Nigerian Air Force, we've not had this since the early 80s.
All right. Thank you very much, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, Director of Public Relations and Information of the Nigerian Air Force. We wish you and your men and officers the very best in the ongoing counter-insurgency efforts in the Northeast. Our appreciation also to Colonel Onyema Nwachukwu, Acting Director of Defense Information. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
And of course, thank you also for the sacrifices and best of luck in your continuing operations. Kabir Adamu, a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria, a security and risk management expert. Thank you for being with us on the program. We'll see you sometime. From our Maiduguri studios, we were joined by the Commissioner for Information. I would imagine outgoing Commissioner for Information. Today is your last day in office, by the way, unless, of course, you are reappointed. But thank you very much for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Dr. Mohammed Bulama, Commissioner for Information in Borno State. All right.
Well, maybe Kingsley wants his job. He wants his job immediately?
No, but Abuja to Maiduguri is very far.
Okay, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. We thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow when we return with a fresh edition of the Good Morning Show. My name is Kirian Umaya.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. Have a lovely day.
Their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news,